Yo guys, Spotterbot here. I want to talk a little bit about Purgatory slash the Afterlife in Mob of the Dead. Purgatory was first mentioned in a press release by Treyarch or Activision when the first trailer was released, even though the trailer didn't identify anything having to do with this Purgatory or Afterlife. In the press release, Mark Lamy goes on to say, additionally, if a player becomes an unfortunate victim, Mob of the Dead's new feature known as Purgatory sends players into the afterlife. This new twist on zombies gameplay is ripe with its own set of objectives and offers fans a truly new and unique experience. Now, before I get into a lot of the details with the behind-the-scenes video, which goes into a lot more having to do with the Purgatory and the Afterlife and what exactly you can do there and how it interrelates with the normal state of the map, I want to talk about something. I was thinking when it was first mentioned the other day on the trailer and in the press release, I was thinking, okay, how would this tie in? I mean, it's been stated, and as far as the timeline of what's happening on Mob of the Dead, it's been stated that the time frame is the era of Prohibition. It's been stated in the press release as well as all the information that we've seen. I mean, it's not like Call of the Dead where they're filming something. The actors that are involved in Mob of the Dead are playing the role of these mobsters. So they're actually these mobsters, fictitious mobsters. They're not, they were never real at Alcatraz. Fictitious mobsters that are imprisoned at Alcatraz. They're plotting their escape, and their plans for escape have been foiled because of the rise of the undead. But how does that interrelate to the time frame of everything else having to do with Call of Duty Zombies? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't in that realm. So what I got to thinking, and it brought me back to a movie that came out a while ago, it was Star Trek Generations. Okay, so you have this Purgatory, you have this Afterlife, and I'm going to compare it to the Nexus. Okay, now we all obviously have seen, and we'll see in the footage, that it looks like, or it appears that you're on the same map. It's just different. It's like you're, in Die Rise, you're the doppelganger. If you get downed and you have Who's Who, you become the doppelganger. Everything's like crazy messed up. It's kind of like that, only more so. But you're still sort of on the same map. The map layout doesn't significantly change. I mean, there are things that are going to be different, and likely things that you can interact with. The other thing that sort of steered me toward this as well, or sort of confirmed that perhaps, I mean, it's just a theory, right? You have the whole connection between Kravchenko and Reznov. So what if this Afterlife is kind of similar, if you've seen the movie, it's kind of similar to the Nexus from Star Trek Generations. You know how the Dr. Soran and Guinan were part of that race that lived, that spent time in the Nexus, and really time just kind of stands still. It's like all melded together. You have space and time melded together. So eventually, and this is a spoiler alert if you've never seen the movie, okay? Kirk gets sucked into this Nexus hundreds of years before Picard, and then Picard gets sucked in, and he goes and visits Kirk, and it's like he just got there, and they're in the same place. So perhaps they can weave this storyline in such a fashion similar to this Nexus, although we're still in this physical location, only in the Afterlife we're in this physical location at Alcatraz. Perhaps time and space are one, and the timeline doesn't matter. You could have any character, any event, anything from past or future have impact on us in that Afterlife. Maybe that's the connection. Maybe that's the way that they could weave in these other characters. Perhaps even the characters from Black Ops 2, zombies, Marlton, Misty, and those guys, Samuel and Russman. Is there any way they can incorporate that? And even to our old group of four, right? So the possibilities are kind of endless, and they're not going to give us everything in the behind the scenes or trailers. I'm hoping there's some tie-in, but that, again, just going back to that whole Nexus thing, that's almost immediately what I thought of. We have this Purgatory, and, time really doesn't matter. So now let's get into some of the map specifics that help us identify exactly what this Afterlife is, what it does, how it works, etc. So if we look at some of the characters from the perspective of some of the characters on the regular Alcatraz map, you notice there's a blue-like indicator just above the direction indicator on the HUD in the bottom right corner. I believe that indicates that you have X number of uses for going into Purgatory. So if you get downed, you go into Purgatory. If you have a counter there, and in most cases we've seen either 0 or 1, but in one of the images the player actually has 3, a count of 3. So they've managed to collect, and we'll look at this in a minute, collect 3 items that give them that access to Purgatory. When they get downed, if they have 1 or more, then they go into Purgatory, all right? And you can also see that in one of the images, there is an indicator to revive a teammate. Now, it may be that, again, we're just going on theory because we haven't played it. It may be that if you're at the 0 count, you get downed, you're still downed the normal way that you are in all other zombies maps, and you can be revived. So that really tells me that, you know, quick revive could still be on the map. I mean, quick revive is still useful. There's still the option to revive players if they get downed and they don't have a count for the afterlife. The other thing that appears, it looks like that it's some sort of drop or collectible that shows up on your screen. If there is the option to go and collect one of these items that gives you access to that Purgatory, then it will show up on your screen. And we get a better picture of this when we start looking at the images from within Purgatory, because they exist also within Purgatory. And the other thing I should mention is that symbol. That symbol is the same symbol that we identified from the trailer. From the trailer image, there were 2 of these symbols on a building on the outside by the docks, and it's the exact same symbol. It's like the Illuminati symbol, although we couldn't find an exact match. It's kind of similar to those types of symbols. One other hint that we get is from that video that I produced that looked at the escape notes that were written. And we had these handwritten notes that they showed in the behind-the-scenes trailer. And one of them, one part of the note says, "A cat has 9 lives," and it looks like it's in reference to this afterlife. So not sure if you can only collect up to 9 afterlife tokens. Let's call them, how about we call them Purgatory tokens, okay? Maybe perhaps you can only collect up to 9, or there's a limit to how many times you can go into Purgatory, and that is 9. Maybe that's per player, maybe that's across all players, not sure. The other thing that we can sort of gather from those notes is that you can get power in Purgatory. Power is either taken from within Purgatory, or you're actually applying power to power the perk machines. The perk machines have those voltmeters beside them, and those voltmeters can be accessed within Purgatory, and we'll see an image of one case of this, although it doesn't look like it's being powered. I mean, they're doing something. There's a power that you have while you're in Purgatory, and it's being interacted with that voltmeter, so we'll check that out in a minute. All right, first thing I want to mention is the symbol. That symbol, again, in the bottom center of your screen, it looks like it's a timer. It counts down. So perhaps you only have a certain amount of time in Purgatory. I think that is, in fact, the case. You only have a certain amount of time in Purgatory to do what you need to do, and either A, you automatically get sent out of Purgatory, or you have to, either you or you in combination with your other teammates, or perhaps even your other teammates, have to do something in order to get you out of Purgatory. And maybe it's even related back to the revive. Maybe it's during that revive time is when you're in Purgatory. I wouldn't think that the regular revive time would be long enough, so perhaps the revive time is longer on this map. Not sure. Or if you're actually in Purgatory, you can't be revived, but there's some other method or way of getting you out, whether it's, oh, the timer's done, you're automatically sucked out, or, like I said, you have to complete something before that timer runs out in order to get out of Purgatory. Otherwise, you die and you come back the next round. The next thing we want to cover is that you have an actual attack while you're in Purgatory. You do see zombies. It's not clear whether these zombies exist only in Purgatory, if they're separate zombies in Purgatory, as opposed to seeing them in both Purgatory and on the regular map. But you do have this electrical attack. You do have targeting indicator on your HUD in the center of the screen, and when you're targeted onto a zombie, it will in fact turn red. Now, I tried to see if this would deplete your counter, deplete your timer In addition to it just being a time-based, perhaps if you used energy, it was not necessarily time-based, it was energy-based, but I couldn't see any correlation. There wasn't a whole lot of footage there, and it may have just been counting down as per the time as opposed to using an electrical ability. One thing that people have been mentioning in the comments in the videos, was it possible? I mean, it looks like you have the same sort of ability that the Avogadro had on Transit. So is there a correlation between this Afterlife mode and the Avogadro? Who knows, maybe even Fibonacci. Go look on Jimmy Zielinski's Twitter if you want to talk about that. Now, the one thing I was talking about before was these pickups on the screen. If you look just up to the right of center, you'll see that it looks like there's another, what do we call it? The Purgatory token. It looks like there's another token that's there to pick up even here in Purgatory mode. And I'm going to show another image. We can get a better look at it. Now, it's pretty hard to see here. I mean, that indicator could be indicating that it's on the other side of the wall, but it looks like there's something to the right of that speed cola machine, and it looks like that indicator sort of moved. It was at first in front. It looks like Ray Liotta's sitting on the ground there. I'll talk about that too. I don't know why these guys are sitting on the ground. It was sitting behind him, and then it sort of moved, but it looks like there's a shadow of something there against the wall. It could be nothing. Again, perhaps that indicator means it's behind the wall, because you'll see it. I mean, it could be across the map, I believe, and you'll still see that indicator showing you, hey, the pickup or the Purgatory token is over here. Now, I honestly don't know what this means, like why the other characters are sitting there. Perhaps they're downed in the other life, they're not in the afterlife, or perhaps the afterlife isn't shared. Like, I don't know if two characters can be in the afterlife at the same time interacting with each other, but every time we've seen another character, they've always sort of been sitting there. Really, I'm kind of at a loss as to whether maybe they're dead or they're downed, or, you know, the zombies are sort of represented in this mode, but the characters aren't, so they just put them as like just kind of sitting there on the ground. I don't know. If you guys have any insight into this, by all means, let me know. Now, the last thing I wanted to cover is that it was reported that there are things that only are available to be interacted with while you're in this Purgatory mode, and this image here shows this this blue glow, and perhaps that was something similar to what we saw. There was a blue glow on one of the images we saw in the original trailer where we had the Hell Dog, and to the right there was a cabinet with a blue glow behind it. But, you know, perhaps that object is only interactable while you're in Purgatory. Looks like this cutout in this wall is definitely only available in Purgatory mode, and the character goes up to it, and the voltage meter already reads full on, like fully powered, and he zaps it or whatever, and I believe the image isn't that clear. I believe it hasn't changed, so I don't know if he's drawing power from it. He's providing power. It's not clear, in my opinion, based on the limited footage, as far as, you know, what kind of conclusion we can draw with it. So it's interesting to say the least. I mean, I know I'm probably missing something here, but I've been through all of the footage. Man, I've been through this footage probably at least a dozen times, and there's still more to go. But definitely kind of interesting, and I wonder if the theory about the old characters and the fact that maybe time and space don't, you know, coexist within this realm of Purgatory / Nexus. I mean, I can go on about Purgatory and how, you know, what the church thinks of it and etc., but we're not going to do that because I think we got long enough. We're almost 14 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's pretty interesting stuff. Can't wait. 1 week to go, guys. Mob of the Dead. I'm Spider, and I'm out.